Okay, moment of truth. 8mm bolts. They say take it off in a star pattern, so I will take it off in a star pattern to release the pressure evenly. And we'll find out what's behind door number 1. Right, so I'm just going to make some space and then mark these out in their pattern so I know where the bolts go back in, just in case, because it is looking like there's got to be different lengths of bolts, so I'll card them up and then I know which way they go back. So all the bolts out, and now to try and get the cover off. So that's the cover off. I just wondered what's the point of these screws? Little Allen bolts, 3 of them, because I thought this was an inspection panel of some sort. But when you look the other side, that's all one casting, so why is there 3 screws in it? I no comprende. Am I missing something off my Hayabusa? Am I missing something else off my Hayabusa? Right, so on a 10mm to undo the pressure plate, which is held on by the springs. There's bound to be a technical term, but yeah, so 6 bolts to undo, and that should release my pressure plate, and then it is just pull them all out from there. Again, a cross pattern to undo. I think it's requested in the manual, but sort of makes sense to release the pressure off the pressure plate evenly. Right, I just want to be a bit more careful with this one. I've put the bolts in the pattern that they're coming off again, just in case there's any. They all look exactly the same, so I think we're all right. But I have just put them in the same bit of card in order, and then I don't know whether it matters which way this clutch plate goes either. I dare say if there was a necessity for it to be in a particular way, there would be markings. Should really look in the book. Right, so that's the pressure plate off, and you've got to be a bit careful because you've got a washer there, not a washer, a bearing, and you got a washer there, and then a roller bearing there, which go up against your push rod, which should be able to pull that out. Not that I need to. That looks all right. Now I want to take all these off in order, so when I rebuild I've got some idea, because there's different thicknesses to the plates. To be fair, it doesn't look like there's much on there, but on the new ones there's not much on there either. So that one goes offset in these, and it's something to do with if you put all of them in the same one, it puts extra pressure on the channels, the edges of the channel, so that last one just takes some of that off, just apparently, something like that. Okay, so it's all right. I just went and made a cup of tea, that's why I put the pressure plate back on. I didn't want everything falling off. And I've just had a look at the new ones, and there's only, whoa, nearly down the plug hole, that one. There's only about no, it's not 0.2, 0.02 to 0.04 friction material difference between, well, this first one and the new one that's the same size. So technically it doesn't need doing, but I've gone for an EBC heavy duty, and as you can see, the difference in the cork is amazing. So there's a lot more surface area there, hence why they call it heavy duty, I suppose. Let's just take that bearing, and it's just the bearing. Where's the washer gone? The washer's still on there. Good, haven't lost that. I'm going to put the plug in my drip tray, make sure nothing gets lost. Bit of surface scratching there. So now I just want to take this off in its actual sequence. And also, I don't know whether these pressure plates, yeah, so you probably won't be able to make that out, but this is a flat edge, that's quite a sharp edge there, whereas that's a chamfered edge. And I do believe these have to go back in the right way. So yeah, again, there's no real bluing or damage on those, so it should be good. And then these are the smaller ones. And again, chamfered edge goes in sharp. You'll feel the difference. There's a definite. That outer edge is definitely a lot sharper than the inner edge. Yeah, all good. Apparently, if you get major bluing on the plates, it could be that they're now warped, so they need replacing as well. But these are all looking good. Where's my... How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this got to be the last pressure plate. Not pressure plate. What are they called? Steel plate. And this should be the last. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. That's the spring, and again that's got to be, you can see it sort of chamfers away or bends away. The smaller diameter has to be on the inside, bigger diameter outside. It should also be and then this last friction plate, as you can see, has a much bigger inner diameter, which accommodates the spring. There's also a washery bit here as well. There's also that ring there, which I would say has, it's hard to tell because it's so thin, but that has one edge that is quite smooth and the other one is quite sharp. So again, I would assume that's got to go in a particular way, chamfer first. So I've got my big diameter one. Now all of mine, you can see the difference in cork. These have been soaked overnight in oil. That in there. Let's get that spring in as well. Make sure it all seats nicely. So that's that one. Then a plate. Like that. And a friction plate. And as I say, these all go in the bigger slots. You've got these small ones at the top which accommodate the very last one, which is a different thickness to the rest. But yeah, all the rest of the friction plates go in these longer ones. Can you see that? So they all slot in there, apart from the last friction plate goes in there. All these plates go straight on the inner splines. And there's 8 of these normal ones, and then there's 2 different size friction plates. As I say, the very first one is a much bigger inner diameter, so it's not in the way of the spring and that washer that's in there. And the rest of them, and then you'll get 8 of the same. You get 8 of the same, and then the very last one is a bit thicker. And there you go, clutch back together. There you go, you can see the inner one and the outer one are fatter. The innermost one has got a much bigger internal diameter, so that's got to go first. And then your washer, your spring go in, and then pack them in. And then what I would say as a word of warning, I've used a bowl to soak my friction plates overnight, and what I should have used is got a circular Tupperware fucking plastic thing which they would just about fit in, and stacked them in there, because that has cost me 2.5, I think it was, maybe even 3 litres of oil, which now I don't trust. There's a bit of a discoloration to it, as you can see. So I don't trust that oil, so I'm not going to put that in the engine. So that's, to me, that's waste oil. So if I'd have had a circular container that they just stacked in, probably half a litre, maybe just 1 litre, would have covered them, and they would have soaked equally as well as they did in that. So there's a little word of warning: get the right size container for the job. Right, now I'll just soak all this in a bit of oil. No, that's wrong. Oh, nearly fucked up. Put your bearing on first onto your push rod, push shaft, whatever the bloody hell that's called. I'll just soak that in a bit of oil as well. There you go. And then your washer goes on afterwards. And then obviously when you pull the clutch, this pushes out, which pushes your thrust plate, pressure plate out, which then allows all the individual clutch plates to separate, disengaging your drive. And obviously when you let go of the clutch, it goes back in, sucks the pressure plate in, clamps everything tight, and you've got drive again. So yes, so the bearing has to go in between this push rod and the washer, because obviously this will be spinning at quite a speed, or this will be spinning at quite a speed, pressure plate. So will the washer and everything else, and then when it disconnects, it needs that freedom on the bearing, the push rod. I'm just waffling now. The push rod needs that clearance. Right, the other slight upgrade I've got is EBC heavy duty springs. They're exactly the same height, but they're 15%, what did it say, 15% stronger, so there's more pressure applied. Again, I'm going to give these a bit of a oil. I so hope I've done this right. I was doing my brakes yesterday and found that the two of the left hand side caliper dust seals have come out, and the actual pads were almost down to metal, so I caught that just in time. And I've only had the bike, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, so to me, that's, when I bought it, I should have at least got some sort of caution to say your pads are on the way out, or your pads are a bit low, do you want us to change them? That's another story. And don't start applying gunk to these bolts, because if anything comes off, it's going around your oil ways. Or apply some gunk to these and let it flow around your oil ways. It's up to you. Me personally, no. And then these, again, same as when you pull them off, want to go up evenly. Just going to see if there's a right or a wrong way to the spring. I don't think there is. I'm just going to put some initial pressure on them and then go round in order. And this is the first time I've ever done a clutch on a bike, so I do hope I haven't messed it up. But if I've messed it up, you won't see this video. It's as simple as that. Right, I'm just going to have a swig of tea and then come back to that. Okay, tea break over. As I say, just continue with a even pattern. Okay, that's them bottomed out. Now I just need to get my torque wrench and torque them up to 10 Newton meters. Okay, so 10 Newton meters, which is absolutely nothing really. And again, in a star, get on there, in a star pattern. And I'll just go around and make sure. There you go. So now I've got to scrape the old gasket off the housing and put the new one on. As you can see, there's no gunk anywhere on this. My only real concern is, there's gunk on the inside. Or is it just, I think that's just the surface of the gasket that's stuck to it. I'm a little bit concerned that the gasket I've got is a bit papery. Looks a bit papery. I don't know whether it is, because I haven't actually opened the packaging to see. But yeah, I'll scrape that surface, clean that off, and then get the new gasket out. Okay, surfaces have been cleaned. So all the old gasket is off. New gasket is pushed into place. I've just got to try and get this on without disturbing it. Line it up with the dowels. And that should be on there. And hopefully it will make a seal. Right, put the plug back in my oil catcher. Right. And all these should slide home beautifully without making any contact with the gasket. Oh, going out sequence then. Right, I'm just checking the book to make sure that I don't need bolt locker on there, nut locker on there, whatever you want to call it. Okay, in the book it doesn't say put nut locker on, so I'm not going to put nut locker on. And these are also 10 Newton meter torque setting. And again, star pattern, doing them up to get an even spread on the gasket. Whereas if you do it up, it can go on unevenly and bunch the gasket up. I believe I can fly. No, I don't. No, I don't. If I could fly, the price of bacon would really go up. Right, so that should be all of them hand tight. Okay, torque wrench. And again, as I say, 10 Newton meters, which is there. Right, 10 Newton meters, lock that off. Okay, bit over the top with going backwards and forwards, but I did want to make sure it was all good, and hopefully it is. Do my electrical connection. Hold that in there. Right, now we want, what's that sound there? 3.1. So with the filter, probably 3.5 litres of oil. Just move all this stuff out, drop the bike down so it's on level ground, run it and see if anything's a success. Right, so we've got oil light on, pressure straight away, so it's in neutral, back brakes on, there you go. First gear, let it out, there you go, nice bit of bite. Second gear, no problem, down into neutral, all bloody good. And that'll do for today. I could put the fairing back on, but I've got so much more to do today, and I'm trying to get it done while it's still sunny so I can get out on my 1000, the old GSXR project, and have a play. So anyway, that'll do. Hope that helps someone.